Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I'm working with the October Hip Kit Club kits. In fact, this week my assignment was to work with just the main kit. So that's what all the items that you're going to see here, with the exception, I think, of a few splatters that I use and some thread, are all from the main kit for October. The first thing I did is I used this great cut file by Kim Watson that can be found under the cut files in the store. I set it up on my silhouette I figured out which leaves I really wanted to cut out, and then I set it up in basically 2-inch squares or 2x3 rectangles in my software, and then cut these out of different pattern papers that you can find in the kit. I'm mainly using a couple of pink fresh papers, and then the Hip Kit exclusive paper that you see there that has the pink and the gold and the kind of coral color in it. So my theme this week, or my assignment, was to use the main kit, but then also we're all making layouts that have some sort of gratitude piece to them. And so my gratitude for this week is my appreciation or love or thankfulness for the season of autumn or fall. It's my favorite season by far for many, many reasons. And the photograph that I am scrapping here is a photo of my daughter about 3 years ago, and we were at a park, and we had such a fun day as a family that day. And it's by far her favorite park, and she was enjoying the leaves. Look at that gorgeous tree there in that picture. And I felt like the leaves on the tree completely matched the gold color of the papers from Pink Fresh. Anyway, so what I'm doing now is I decided that I wanted to use some of I don't know, the silhouette, the cuts that I made on the silhouette cameo. I wanted to use the opposite part of it, not the actual cut file. I wanted it to use the other part of it, so that some of them would just be open cuts, and then the other ones would actually be the leaves. So I messed around with these leaves. Probably that took me the longest time to make this entire layout. That, and then the sewing. I ended up sewing around each one of these squares, or rectangles really, and in fact, even on the ones where there's just a leaf and no rectangle, I made a rectangle around the leaf with thread. So I ended up sewing around each one of those, and I think I show a close-up here in a few minutes. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. I need a drink of water. So I feel like I've got those down where I want them, so I'm going to go ahead and glue them down. And I know I'm going to sew around them, so I'm not, being too particular here about getting every inch of it sewn down, except for the actual cut file themselves. I'm trying to be a little bit more careful to make sure that it sticks. And once I get these sewn down, there's that, which I do off camera, then I get started on my title. I use the fabulous exclusive blue Hip Kit exclusive alphas for my title, for part of my title, and then the other part I went ahead and I just used a font on my computer and cut out the word splendor. And I'm using that same pink fresh paper with the golden leaves on it. And then what I'm doing here is I've just taken a little bit of shimmers and I'm putting it around the paint around the outside of this cut, because it's just, I wanted it to stand out a little bit more. There, I got a little closer so you could see. I'm just going around. I'm not actually painting most of the paper. I'm painting around on the outside or the very edge. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, boy, this is really flimsy, and I want it to be stronger, and I want it to stand out more. So I end up cutting out the same word, again, just on some thick white cardstock, and then I glue the two splendors together so that it's just kind of a double layer, and it's a little bit thicker. So that's right there was all of the close-up of the stitching. And my title is going to be Autumn Splendor. And so I'm going to go ahead and I actually move this title around a little bit, but it ends up in that same basic area here. Just I move it up and down and over a few times. But so I'm using those are the gorgeous Hip Kit exclusive alphas for autumn, and then Splendor is drying right now. So I'm going to kind of work on the rest of my layout, and then I'll add Splendor at the end. Um, so what I'm doing now is I had a few of those leaves that I had cut out. Well, actually, no, I'm looking at the ephemera pack that comes in the main kit, and it's Pink Fresh from Pink Fresh Studio, same collection, and I'm grabbing a bunch of the blue stars, and then these stars are Bella Boulevard, also came in the main kit, and they're like puffy stickers, and I'm putting those around the page a little bit. And then these are the chipboard pieces, and I do end up using a couple of chipboard pieces here. They're not, I don't start them in the same location as what we end up using, but at this point I don't have my title complete, and I'm just kind of, what kind of little bit of embellishments do I want? And I toy with adding these different flowers, but then I felt like the flowers were just kind of, I liked that pop of color over there, but I end up not using any of the flowers because I felt like they just were out of place. They just didn't really work for me. I did end up using the leaves from that die cut pack, I think, they're on there right now, but I don't end up using these flowers. I end up actually grabbing some of the leaves that I cut out and didn't use, and I end up putting those behind the photo as a layer. And I think I do that here coming up. I toy with the idea of putting some thread down. I have a couple of different colors of thread, but then I didn't end up liking the way it looked, so believe it or not, I use thread on most of my layouts, and I don't think I used, other than the thread that I stitched with, I don't think I used any on this layout. There was just enough going on and enough color, and usually when I use the thread, I just want a pop of color somewhere, so the Splendor is almost dry now, and I feel better about kind of putting it on my layout, and it's not going to leave marks from wet paint. So that's basically where I end up with it. I do actually end up putting, off camera, I end up putting a little bit of like foam adhesive kind of behind it so that it stands up a little bit, and I put the S, maybe even the SP, over the picture, so everything moves up just a little bit because I add some items under my title. So here's where I get out the leaves, and I'm kind of toying with the idea of sprinkling those leaves around the layout, but I end up settling on putting those behind the photograph instead, and I think you'll see me do that here next. So yeah, so now I've taken all of the flowers off, and I've decided I'm just going to put the leaves behind the photo. So that's what I'm doing here. And I do end up using that one die cut that looks like leaves, that it looks very similar to the paper that I've used throughout this layout. I've pulled out a couple of ephemera pieces. One has the XOXO. It was a little bigger, and I cut off the top and the bottom because I wanted it to be thinner. And here I am again thinking, I still haven't used thread yet. I should use some thread, but I don't end up using it. Believe it or not. I put it behind there, and I just was like, doesn't really add to it. So I take it back off. And this is really just about it. I mean, I still need to glue some things down, and some of it I do off camera, just because, mainly because I thought the camera was on. So when I glue down Splendor, and then in fact, I think those stars and things that I put on there that are in the ephemera pack are not glued down yet. So I think I do that off camera because I shut the camera off and didn't realize I shut the camera off, and so that it didn't end up getting filmed. So I hope you've been checking out the blog and playing along in our Facebook group as well. I have really enjoyed using these kits. I think I have a ton left, and so I have a couple of ideas for some more layouts, but I think this is the last one as part of an assignment that for Hip Kit Club. Um, so yeah, I've just really enjoyed working with these kits, and I love, it was kind of a hard color scheme for me, although I love the colors, absolutely love. I mean, when I saw these, I was just like, these are gorgeous. I ended up having a really hard time working with that blue. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's not a color that I work with that often. So right now I'm adding some foam adhesive around some of the ephemera pieces, just to help them stand up just a little bit because I have those chipboard pieces there. And so I just thought they stood up, and I felt like the others needed to too. So really, yeah, that's just about it. The close-ups are coming up. Um, I hope that you found some inspiration from this. Create a grid layout. Use those cut files. Um, use up your kit. I have so much on my kit left. I am not kidding. I have so much. I have 2 layouts right now that are on my desk that I'm working on that are from this kit still, even though I don't have any assignments left for the DT. So anyway, here are the close-ups. Thanks a lot for stopping by. See you again soon. Hope you have a great week.